depending on what I'm wearing, you may not know that I'm pregnant, but by how I'm walking, you will know I'm pregnant. Just that magical feeling of like knowing that there is a soul in there and feeling it move, I was in a different state of mind. Like, hi all, ciao visiem. So I don't know why I was feeling pigtails this morning, and I'm actually really loving it. Like, I'm gonna be 100% doing this to my hair a lot more. Anyways, I wanted to do a quick second trimester update. So for those who don't know, pregnancy is divided in 3 trimesters: the first, second, third, and then birth. Pregnancy is actually 10 months total, which is wild. So the months are separated in 3 sections. Currently, I am 5 or 4 days away from starting my 3rd trimester. You cannot really see the baby bump in this dress, but it's there, I promise you. So to begin with, when my 2nd trimester started, around 4 months of pregnancy, I was still feeling the same way that I was feeling all of 1st trimester, and I have a video on that. If you know, you know. My 1st trimester was literally the trimester from hell. I have never felt worse physically and emotionally in my entire life. I cry a lot in that video, but yeah, I recommend you watch that first before moving on to 2nd trimester, just so you will know the point of reference that I have for all of these things, because that was hard. First 3 months were hard, and then all that morning sickness and nausea and all the like worst of a pregnancy is supposed to end by the end of 1st trimester. So not supposed to be as bad as mine was, and then as mine was continuing, and it was already my 2nd trimester, and it was 4 months in, and I was still feeling the exact same way, I was pretty certain by that point that this is just how my entire pregnancy would go. Because, and let's be very clear on this, for a lot of women, that is how it goes. For a lot of women, the entire 9-10 months are hell, like are really, really bad. I've talked about this like a million times over, but we need to make space for people to share negative pregnancy experiences, and in general, I think we suffer from a massive overrepresentation of happy pregnancies and traumatic births. And I've talked about in my other videos about why traumatic birth is so profitable and the consequences that consuming that has and so on. So yeah. But then, thanks to the universe and all the gods on the entire planet, I started feeling better and better. Slowly, slowly, slowly. So after 4.5 months of just feeling the worst I've ever felt in my life, almost 5 months, honestly, I started feeling better and better, little by little. And I remember at that point I was very scared because my husband, Isaiah, he had been saving his vacation days for almost 2 years now because of COVID. You know, when I went home to Europe over the summer, we thought he could come and stay, but then he couldn't because of COVID. And then essentially all travel stopped because of COVID. And then I got pregnant and I got sick to the point where, like, you could put me in the biggest villa in Bali or Rio or wherever, and I would just be miserable, sick, dying in bed. So I was so worried that we would have to take a vacation like that because his vacation days were expiring. So essentially, if he does not use them, he will lose them. And for a man who works 12-hour days every day, it was crucial for his mental and physical health and like our relationship and everything that we do go someplace and leave this apartment, in 1-bedroom apartment in which we've been for 2 years now, or a year, or however long this pandemic's been going on. I was very worried that I wouldn't get better, but then I started slowly feeling better, and we booked our trip to Mexico. And then when we got to Mexico, I actually felt the best that I have felt my entire pregnancy. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but oh my gosh, like I swear my body, my baby, everything about my being was just waiting for me to leave the US. And boom, like I flourished. And that, to be honest, that's always what happens, just because I hate living here, so no surprise there. So yeah, starting with my fifth month of pregnancy, I started feeling better. I lost the nausea, I lost the extreme sensitive sense of smell, I lost dizziness, like a lot of the major issues. But of course, most things also still remained, like general weakness, tiredness, lack of stamina, being out of breath, you know, a little bit of depression, which I've had throughout the pregnancy. You know, those things still remain, but just in comparison to how I felt first trimester, which I genuinely just wanted to die. So in comparison, I felt like a newborn human. Then when we went to Mexico, the biggest changes started happening. First of all, I popped. And they always say that it happens overnight. And I knew it, but I didn't really believe it. But that's exactly what happened to me. I went from basically being pretty flat, like not showing at all, to like popping. Like I definitely had a belly. But in general, it was wild when we got to Mexico how many of these like physical changes my body was going through so fast. It literally felt like the second we got there, pregnancy went into like super speed. I popped. I felt my entire like pelvic floor and all those muscles completely loosen up. Like I felt it happen. Definitely got the like duck walk. So whenever we'd walk, like at first I'd be walking normal speed, and then I can't walk fast anymore. Like I have to walk slow, and I would always be walking with my legs a little bit like wider apart. Like it just feels like you can't put them together anymore. I gained my appetite, which I hadn't had an appetite for 5 months, you know. And I finally gained an appetite, so I started eating, like actually like enjoying food like I used to pre-pregnancy. I just feel like all these major physical changes started happening, you know, with popping in Mexico, even though, like, to be quite honest, my belly's still on the smaller side, so it really depends on what I'm wearing, whether you can tell that I'm pregnant or not. And I always say that, yeah, depending on what I'm wearing, you may not know that I'm pregnant, but by how I'm walking, you will know I'm pregnant, because I'm totally like leaned back, belly out, legs wide, like wobbling away. Also, while we were in Mexico, we got our unintentional gender reveal, which by this shaman person, which is a story of its own. Basically what happened was that one night, this was I think like our first or second night in Mexico, I wasn't really showing yet, and I was wearing like clothes that you couldn't tell, plus it was nighttime, it was like 10 p.m. or something, there was no lights, and we had finished our dinner and we started walking back to our Airbnb, and Isaiah, like, I think he suggested like, oh, do you want to go by the water or something? And I was like, yeah, let's walk by the ocean, like when we walk home. So we got to the ocean and we see these, like, you know, I don't know, 40, 50 people sitting and meditating in these lines, and in front of them is like the front meditators, and they're doing like sound bowls and all types of like sound stuff. And then there's like this shaman guy standing there with this huge bamboo like instrument, I don't know how to call it. Anyways, of course, when I see something like that is my thing. Like, that is my thing. So we kind of stood there, because I was like, oh my God, can I go meditate? Like, can I join in? Do I have to pay? How much? I will. So we like stood there for a minute, and the guy came over, the shaman guy, he came over with the huge instrument, and he blew it first on Isaiah, like he just like blew like up and down like this on Isaiah, and then he turned to me and he did like this, and then like stopped at my belly, and then was just blowing the instrument at the belly. And after he stopped, he looked at us and he was like, oh, so are you having a boy or a girl? I'm serious, you could not have told by looking at me that I was pregnant at the time. And I was like, oh wow, yeah, we are pregnant. And I said that we don't actually know the gender or the sex, we're now finding out. And he said, oh, you're having a boy, like you're having a boy. He went on this whole speech about, you know, the types of souls that are entering the world right now, and it was a lot of really, really beautiful things that he like sort of went into afterwards. And you know, I'm about that stuff. I loved hearing it, so we kind of had our little gender reveal, I guess, uncalled for. And afterwards, yeah, he invited us if we want to join and meditate. So I sat there, and yeah, I think I said, yeah, we both sat there and meditated for a bit, and then afterwards went home. So it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. 10 out of 10, recommend just walking around the beaches of Mexico and finding a shaman to do your gender reveal for you. Then as far as like more symptoms, the last night before we left Mexico, I remember I was looking at my Bump app, which is like a pregnancy app, and I was reading about that week. I remember baby was the size of a coconut then, and it said one of the things that it said was, oh, if you haven't felt the baby kick yet, you're probably gonna feel the baby kick this week. And I was like almost done with the week, and I hadn't felt the baby kick yet or any movement at all, which I already knew would be the case because of the positioning of my placenta. My placenta is like on the outer side, so basically it insulates all movement from the baby, so the baby would have to kick really hard for me to feel it. But I remember I read that, and I was laying in bed. It was our last night, like before we leave the next morning, and I started like rubbing my belly and talking to my baby and saying, hey, don't you want to say hi to mama? Like, don't you want to say hi? Don't you want to let me know you're there? Talk to me, talk to me. And then I went to bed, I fell asleep, and then in the middle of the night, at like 3 a.m., I woke up because my baby was kicking. It was the most magical feeling in the world. I instantly woke Isaiah up. I put his hand on my belly and he felt it too. And it was just out of this world. Like, I cannot explain to you how magical that feels. Like, after that initial kick, the next couple of weeks that followed was definitely like my honeymoon phase of the pregnancy. Like, I was on an absolute high. Like, I was levitating. Just that magical feeling of like knowing that there is a soul in there and feeling it move. I was in a different state of mind, like a completely different state of mind. And I've read about this in the pregnancy books that actually because of one of the hormones that's released during pregnancy, pregnant women are always sort of like a little bit high. Like, we're like just like happier and chiller and more relaxed. And I had not experienced that before. And I was definitely feeling it then. Like, I was high. Like, you could yell at me, you could cuss, you could say whatever, and I would just be like, so happy to hear. Keep it going. Like, I felt so good spiritually and emotionally. And I want to make that distinction hard because physically I have not felt amazing ever during my pregnancy, but at that point in time, so around the 5th month, 6 months mark, I really was just feeling so elevated spiritually, like fully connected to Mother Nature, fully connected to anything, did not care whatever was going on in the world, like school, deadlines, having to teach, whatever. I was just like, baby kicks, everything stops, you know, I'm a mom now. Like, I was on a different cloud. Of course, that initial high and excitement over it gradually wore off. Right now, the baby's kicking all the time, and you know, you're sort of gotten used to it more or less. Plus, the baby's kicking hard. Like, my inner organs are being just like kickboxed around on the daily, and it's not that pleasant, let me tell you. But still, the feeling like when they're kicking, just this recognition that there's a live thing in there. Like, there is an actual live being, like a fishy swimming around, and I'm the aquarium. You know, like, I think it's one thing, you know, we all know how babies are made and produced and so on, but it's a whole other thing to do it. Like, to actually feel it inside you, indescribable. As far as the more annoying symptoms, after we got back from Mexico, I got a really bad, like, stuffy nose. It was like a dry nose, so it was kind of like bloody and really dry, but also extremely stuffy and full. It's like the weird combination. And as with all things, as I talked about in the previous in the first trimester video, if anything weird happens to you, you just Google that /pregnancy symptom, and it's about to be one of them. So of course, yeah, that's a thing. Stuffy nose, whatever, is a thing during pregnancy, again, because of whatever the hormones, whatever is going on. But it was really unpleasant at night because I essentially could not breathe. I'm slowly now getting over that symptom, like a month later, so I'm happy about that. But it was really hard. I slept and still do sleep with like 8 pillows, which is crazy because I hate pillows. I typically sleep with no pillow or like a pillow this thin, and now I have like 8 of them stacked up just because like I could not breathe. I literally couldn't breathe. And I also got heartburn, which like turns out that there's this like thing in our throat that like tap thingy that closes and keeps the acid down from after like we digest food. But because of this hormone relaxin that is essentially like relaxing all your muscles throughout the body during pregnancy, for pregnant women, it's just like flapping open. So literally, like, I could eat my last meal at 5 p.m. and go to bed at 10 p.m. and try to lay down and would still like just be burning here and burning here. It's awful. Also got a little bit of lower back pain, sciatica as they call it. Mostly if I just, you know, walk more than 20 minutes, I start getting lower back pain, because once again, this muscle relaxant is relaxing all of your, the muscles that hold your spine together. So plus your like abs separate during pregnancy, so you really just have no support there all over. So yeah, pregnant women are likely to get a lot of pain there. Anyways, so just in case you don't know, the way they describe trimesters is like, first trimester is supposedly the worst trimester, like worst nausea, feeling, sickness, and so on. Second trimester is supposedly like the best trimester. It's when you get a surge of energy and you're feeling your best, and you know, you've lost that sickness, but you're also not big yet. So this is the time when they always tell you, get everything done, you know, decorate the nursery, do everything, because you won't be able to later. This is your moment. And then the third trimester is also the more difficult one, not because of the symptoms you had in the first trimester, but because you are now huge and, you know, can't do a lot of things essentially. And because that's what I knew about the trimesters, I was fully expecting, like second trimester, I was fully expecting to get some like magical rush of energy, you know, like get that surge in energy, and lol, like yes, absolutely, feeling 1,000 times better than I did my first trimester. Do I feel better than pre-pregnancy? No, hell no. Why was this lie necessary that I was gonna feel great during my second trimester? No, I still have the energy levels, like 20% of the energy levels I normally do. I still have the stamina of a 2-year-old, you know, like not feeling great. And that's my thing basically with like pregnancy in general. I understand that every single pregnancy is unique, and there is a vast range between like extremely severely hard pregnancies like mine was for the first 4 or 5 months, to like really easy and smooth pregnancies, you know, that are kind of easy and have very little symptoms and so on. I know that there's a massive range, and I understand, even though I'm not having an easy pregnancy, I understand that, you know, it can also be easy, but I find it extremely hard to believe that anyone could say they felt better during pregnancy or the same as they normally do. Like, and let's be clear, the difference between emotionally and spiritually, which yes, I feel much more elevated than I have ever before, but I'm talking physically. Just because of all the like bodily changes and things that happen to you, like as you're growing a human, I don't see how you could ever feel better physically than you did pre-pregnancy, or even the same. Like, it's just, once again, you know, this is just my thoughts. You can change your mind. You can have your own, like, your experience is valid as it was. My mom is the #1 person to say that she felt her best during pregnancy. But, you know, there's also this thing that we tend to forget all the negative things once we get the baby. Like, it's an actual, like, science supports this. Like, there's this thing in our minds, like, we forget the bad stuff so that we would reproduce again, even if the birth was traumatic, even if it was really painful and so on. So I don't really believe her, basically. But yeah, I just, you know, from my experience, I just don't believe that you could ever, like, physically, I just always don't feel that great. Like, still don't feel that great. I am just dying for the day that I can wake up and go for a run, have an intense workout, like intense cardio and weightlifting workout. Forget a workout. I'm dying for the day when I can just wake up and be like, I'm gonna clean the house, and just clean the whole house in one go, because I have stamina that holds me for more than 20 minutes, you know? So many things I really cannot wait to do when I'm no longer pregnant. On a different note, the biggest symptom I experienced during this trimester is sort of the attitudes that I've noticed from other people and how I've noticed our society deals with pregnancy, and I already made a video on that, so if you'd like to watch that, I'll put it up here. But yeah, that's it. That's just a little chat about my second trimester. I'm doing this to share my experience, but also to make a record for myself and how this has been, because we all tend to forget. But yeah, share your experiences below or comment with any questions, like and subscribe to the channel for more content. I love you so much.